Indeed, my name is Mariana Gutierrez Popoca. I am a pediatrician working with MSF, and I am also currently chairing the Breastfeeding Initiative. And this might seem like off topic, but actually breastfeeding is one of the main things that we can do to guarantee children's survival, even in contexts of war, or even more importantly, in contexts of war. The Breastfeeding Initiative is a multidisciplinary group of people that in MSF came together, and we were wondering, what is going on with breastfeeding in MSF? We haven't been able to support it in the way that we think it should be supported. So basically we have people from sexual and reproductive health, nutritionists, pediatrics, nursing, mental health. And we're all sort of like trying to come together and make this subject advance a little bit in MSF. So we wonder, does MSF really support breastfeeding? And unfortunately, we found quite a lot of pitfalls. Is it seen as a priority? No, it's seen as a nice to have. Do we have staff that is really trained in how to support mothers who are doing breastfeeding? We don't have trainings actually developed for staff. Do we do enough community engagement? And we're going to see why community engagement is so important afterwards. We don't really do a lot of community engagement with mothers who are also breastfeeding. Our policies supporting breastfeeding, no, there's a lot of things that we can do to work on our policies. Do we have materials available? We do, but sometimes they don't reach the people who are actually supporting the breastfeeding in the fields. And do we collect data? We don't, not a lot. Some projects do, but in general, we don't collect as much data as we should be doing. And I'm sure most of you in the room are very keen on supporting breastfeeding, and you will know about all the benefits and advantages of breastfeeding. And I'm not trying to preach to the choir, but I'm just going to give you some data for the non-medical people. And thank you. For the non-medical people and the budget holders, the people with the money, why is breastfeeding so important beyond the benefits of mother and child? So it is estimated that if we elevated breastfeeding to nearly universal levels, so almost all newborns being exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life, that would add approximately 302 billion annual additional income to the world economy. We would have higher IQs for our children and higher educational attainment. Almost 1 million deaths of children under 5 would be averted. And we would have 10 million cases of diabetes and 3.8 million cases of hypertension also averted, and about 20,000 deaths avoided from breast cancer. So you see the impact of breastfeeding is not only mom and baby, right? It goes all the way to the end of life, so it's really, really important. And I'm going to tell you a story that I really like and I hope you enjoy, and I think it depicts very well why breastfeeding is so important and why we need to support it, why we can just leave the mother and the baby to their will. So in the 80s, in the US, in Ohio, there was this gorilla that got pregnant. The whole zoo was super excited about this pregnancy. They did all the monitoring, all the ANC for this gorilla. The pregnancy was going great, and finally, the baby gorilla is born. But this mother gorilla had never been in contact with other mother gorillas. So the baby is born, and she has no idea what to do with this baby gorilla. So she abandons the baby gorilla. She doesn't know how to breastfeed. She doesn't know what to do. And the zookeepers end up taking the baby away and bringing the baby to the hospital of this zoo. The baby goes into an incubator, receives some formula milk and IV fluids, antibiotics, but ends up dying of sepsis a few days after. This is a true story, hey? And so it's really sad for the whole zoo. The mother gorilla is also very affected by the death of her baby. And they don't know what to do if this ever presents again. About a year after, this gorilla is pregnant again, and the zoo is panicking. They're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So they call this international organization that maybe some of you have heard of that is called La Leche League, and they tell them, like, we are really in trouble, we don't know what to do, could you help us? And the La Leche League said, no worries, we're gonna send you some mothers to breastfeed in front of the gorilla cage. So the mothers, throughout the months of the pregnancy, they start going into the gorilla cage, breastfeeding in front of the gorilla, and basically teaching her how to do this. The gorilla, in the beginning, she doesn't really pay much attention, but then as the months go by, she's like more interested, and then she starts sitting right next to the breastfeeding mothers. Well, pregnancy comes to term, she delivers, and what do you think happened? Of course, she knows how to breastfeed now. That gorilla was breastfed, was cared for, and now is a happy adult gorilla. This happened several times, and this was reproduced later by several zoos, inviting mothers to breastfeed in front of their cages with captive primates in general. So this is just an invitation for you guys to visit our breastfeeding booth that is downstairs, particularly if you are mothers, if you have breastfeeding experience and you are working in our projects or not in MSF. We are super interested in knowing your insights. It's really valuable. So please do visit the breastfeeding booth. Thank you, everybody.